Hello, and welcome back to another video. So I know I had recently done a soft speaking video kind of going through the season synopsis of Better Call Saul as the final episodes are premiering, and I actually just watched Waterworks last night, and as I was reading about it, I came across this thread on Reddit, the official prediction thread for the series finale, Saul Gone. So I thought it would be fun to kind of read through these while softly speaking. So, for those of you who have not seen the most recent episode, you probably don't want to watch this, as there will probably be a decent amount of spoilers. So I just wanted to give a warning about that. And again, this is just a post on Reddit that I'll be reading through. So, with that, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. So again, this is the official prediction thread for the series finale, Saul Gone. So the first one, no one remembers to bail out Jeff. Someone from the show said that the ending would be something that's never been done before. So what even is that? Has everything not been done in some form? The show will end in a courtroom. And then a follow-up comment to that. Seems like they made a point to have Kim tell Howard's wife that the only possible witness in a prosecution against Kim would be Saul. Maybe the most ironic ending would be Saul being called to testify against Kim. Maybe the series might end of something close to a redemption note if Saul just perjures himself, takes all the blame a la Walt's last phone call to Skylar. A bunch of holes in that theory. One being the question of why Saul wouldn't also be charged for the Hamlin scheme. You can't compel a co-accused to testify if both being tried together would have to decide between prosecuting either Kim or Saul, and I don't know why they'd pick Kim. So I think the Walt solo scene will be him and Saul talking about Skylar and Kim when they were bunking together while waiting to get their new IDs. Yes, that's the missing scene in the whole thing. They spent a few days together. I think there will be a back and forth blame game. I also think the Walt scene will be in the vacuum shop while bunking together. I don't know if their conversation will focus on their wives or not, but I think the point of the scene will be to highlight how Walter, even in the midst of his grand escape, was still not ready to give it up, and he was still in full Heisenberg mode, which, as we all know, will eventually lead to Walt's death and not much redemption for him. Gene will look back on that moment and come to the realization that he's essentially doing exactly what Walt did by never giving up his Heisenberg mindset, just like Gene hasn't fully given up his Saul mindset either. So he will be faced with a stark example of what that decision will lead to, and I think that will be the catalyst that leads Gene going back to ABQ to face the consequences. I don't think it will go down quite as simple as that for Gene. I expect a few surprises to come up, but I do think that will be the gist of the final Walt scene. Chuck will appear one last time in the opener of the series finale as a flashback. Before this season started, I was 100% sure we'd get a Chuck flashback based on nothing. Now, at the end, I'm desperately hoping for it. Jimmy will, for the first time, stop and think about Chuck. He keeps spiraling worse and worse because he doesn't want to actually think about things. He just pushes his thoughts down and digs deeper, trying to find something to fill the void. At some point, he will be forced to actually reflect and come to terms with everything he's done. If this happens, he'll probably go to prison. If, less likely, he continues to refuse to think about it, he'll instead be free and scurry away once again. But he'll live a miserable existence. Nothing will fill the hole he's dug in his heart. Gene grits his teeth, gets out of his car. There are sirens on both sides of the bridge. What can he do? Turn himself in? No. Even he can't talk his way out of this one. Just then, he felt it. The cold wind calling him one last time. There, on the edge of the bridge, was a nice, smooth patch of ice. Color fades into the shot as Jimmy is reborn once again. He steps towards the river, knowing what he has to do. It's slippin' time. There's a comment in here. I'm breaking sad. I think a lot of us are. Jesse will see the whole thing on the news and will come back and free Saul from prison using a giant magnet. Seriously though, Jimmy is going to jail. Felina gave a little Hank flashback to honor the only main character from the pilot who didn't make it to the finale. Better Call Saul has 4 such main characters who are now dead: Chuck, Nacho, Howard, and Mike. I wonder how many the show can reasonably represent without it seeming ridiculous. I don't have anything specific to predict, but I think we'll finally get an answer to what Gold, I believe, said was the question for Jimmy in season 6. Is there any redemption for Jimmy McGill? That was in my head when watching the scene with Marion. He's approaching her with plans to choke her out, the lowest we've ever seen him. We have never seen Jimmy straight up about to murder somebody. We've seen him suggest it, but he has never done it himself. Then, when she says, "I trusted you," it hits him, and what he's doing, and what he's become, as Vince said. He still has a scintilla of conscience. The question is, what will he do with it? I think Jimmy will finally face his grief, trauma, and mistakes. He'll go through an emotional reckoning about his life, the lives he destroyed, and the harm he has caused. I want to believe there can be some redemption for Jimmy after we've seen him go so morally bankrupt in response to his hurt. What does redemption look like for him if he's ready to face it? Prison is the obvious choice, and it is what he deserves at this point, but I honestly have no idea. The writers can also choose to answer that question with, no, he cannot be redeemed. I think any answer to that question is a valid one. If so, what does he do? An outburst that lands him in prison? Does he go back into Saul Goodman, bringing the world into color for the final time? Honestly, I don't know what will happen, except that I think the prison ending seems way too obvious, and I don't think it will end up happening. To be honest though, I could end up eating my words next week, and I'd be fine with it as long as it's done well. And then the follow-up to that is, Walt dying was also an obvious thing to happen at the end of Breaking Bad. It was amazing, but could be seen from a mile away. Jimmy will win in the end. The audience is left feeling like Chuck during the chicanery speech, where we all know who Jimmy is. We have him dead to rights, and yet he still manages to elude justice. I have a feeling that the song that started the show will return again. Address unknown, not even a trace of you. Oh, what I'd give to see the face of you. I was a fool to stay away from you so long. I should have known there'd come a day when you'd be gone. Address unknown. Oh, could I be so blind to think that you would never be hard to find? From the place of your birth to the ends of the earth, I've searched only to find. Saul is on the run, ready to call the vacuum guy. But there's one thing that he wants more than safety: to see Kim for one last time. She was the only real light in his life. He visits her and they have a talk. Kim does what is right and calls the police. Jimmy doesn't resist arrest. She cuts away the part of her that was attracted to Jimmy. She won't need to overcompensate it anymore by leading a miserable suburban existence. Her handing over Saul also serves as her get-out-of-jail card after admitting to what she did to Howard. I don't think the series ends with Saul vanishing again. That would leave us in the exact same spot as when the series started. We're gonna see Walt one more time, but without Jesse, since Bryan Cranston said he filmed 2 scenes, one with Aaron Paul and one without him. Jimmy will get caught and arrested since he's gotten exposed by Marion and can't run for long with the police after him. I'm sure we'll get an emotional scene where Jimmy and Kim meet in person for the first time in 6 years. I think it's going to be when Jimmy is in custody. She'll convince him to tell the truth about Howard. I think she'll admit that she never stopped loving him, and that will bring back his humanity. The only way Jimmy can have any kind of redemption is if Kim gets through to him. I don't see any other way. Jimmy will realize that he's going to go away for a long time in prison, so he'll tell the full story about Howard and admit to sabotaging Chuck's insurance, since no one in the story knows about the insurance except him. When he's done confessing, his world will again. I hope we see Jimmy get emotional as well, since he's been holding it all in and putting on a facade for 6 years. Jimmy hasn't displayed a single real human emotion in years, and he needs to let it all out like Kim did on the bus in the previous episode. I think Jimmy will get a life sentence in prison. Not sure what Kim gets or if she gets any prison time at all. The final scene will be a montage of Jimmy in prison getting along nicely with other inmates and even the security guards. He'll get a visit from Kim every once in a while, where they're both happy for that short amount of time. It would be sad to see him behind bars for life, knowing that things could have played out much better had he made better decisions, but also sweet knowing that he was able to get some redemption. Jimmy's not going to die or go to prison. He's going to get his own personal hell in a unique way. Jimmy will heed his own advice to Walt in his last scene of Breaking Bad. At first, he will attempt to run, but then decides to face the music and confesses to everything. Jimmy and Kim will reconcile while he's in prison, both trying to become better people. Howard's name will be cleared publicly. It ends with Bob sitting across from David Cross at a table. David just says something. It's a little long for a sketch show, and it's not really funny. I think I'm going to have to veto this one. This next one has a couple of bullets. It's broken down. Number 1. There will be one more Walt and Saul scene that parallels with what's going on, explains more of what Heisenberg was, and how Saul's morality was just completely destroyed by him in the final days of Saul Goodman. Number 2. We will see a scene of the cops finding Saul's car, maybe to see if there's any evidence inside, which is where the teaser shot comes from. Number 3. I think Saul will hear or see about what Walt did with killing the neo-Nazis. I think this will be the incentive to make himself face the music. In jail, I think Kim will visit him, and she will tell him she always loved him and just wanted Jimmy back. This will make the color come back. Number 4. Jimmy will confess to everything. Howard's death, helping Heisenberg, etc. Number 5. In jail, Jimmy will be able to use his lawyer skills to help criminals understand their case. Hell, in jail, he might even meet a bunch of people he helped out, and they will all let him know that to them, he is a legend. I think this will help Jimmy realize he did the right thing in the end, and as bad as he was, there's many people out there who owe him their life. Saul will be in court, and it will resemble Chuck, or the most depressing ending I can think of, and they may be going for it, is that Saul dies and Kim goes to prison for him. Theory. The intro next week will be of the blue screen with a few flickers of the inflatable Statue of Liberty clip, but will be audible "come on," followed by the sound of someone slapping the top of a VHS player. The tape rewinds to reveal a full in-universe commercial that ends on the statue for patriotic effect. Screen pans out to reveal they're being played on a rollout TV in court, with Saul on trial. Gene thinks about using the disappearer, but decides to dress as Saul Goodman and surrender himself for Jeff's freedom. Jimmy will crash his car and try to order a new Hoover. I think Kim will reveal she never filed the divorce paperwork Since there's no real evidence and everyone is dead, Jimmy will be able to beat the case as long as Kim invokes the privilege to not testify against him as his wife. In the end, she betrays him and testifies against him, sending him to prison. I literally can't see the series going anywhere else but with Jimmy ending up in jail. But I think his form of redemption will be ensuring Kim doesn't go to jail for her role in scamming Howard. Jimmy tells the court it was all him and that Kim was a victim in it all. They have no reason not to believe him. He is a criminal, con man, ex-lawyer to Heisenberg. Will have echoes of Walt's phone call to Skylar. However, by doing this, Jimmy accidentally does the one thing Kim doesn't want. He ensures that she will never face repercussions for her role in destroying Howard, which is exactly the opposite of what she was trying to do in the most recent episode. Jimmy sees it as a noble sacrifice, but Kim actually ends up hating him for it. Sounds a little bleak for the Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul universe, when even the absolute psychopath, Walter White, gets a fairly solemn ending, but I can see it working for this show. Better Call Saul is much darker, much less action-packed and grounded than Breaking Bad. We'll get a flashback scene of Saul and Walt at the vacuum cleaners. I hope it will be Jimmy having a breakdown like we've seen Kim. With Cranston there to play off of, should be some scene. Flash forward 10 years. Jimmy has been let out of prison early for good behavior. Huel picks him up in a Cadillac. They ride off into the sunset together. Huel's spinoff is teased. We're almost certain to get a final Walter White appearance. I'm betting it's going to come near the end of the episode as Jimmy reflects on how low he's fallen. There's no way he gets away with it this time. It's the end for him and for this universe. I feel so grateful to have existed at the same time as Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, and to be able to watch both shows end in real time. Vince Gilligan is a genius. There won't be a trial scene. The past few episodes have all been built around really tense but mundane set pieces. The mall heist, Jimmy sneaking around the cancer patient's apartment, the confrontation with Marion. I bet we get a couple more of those as the walls close in on Jean. I feel like too much has to happen in the final episode for there to be time for a lengthy trial courtroom scene. I'm also starting to think that Jimmy, Saul, Jean going to jail is too predictable, and that the writers are going to throw a curveball. So I'm going to guess that Jimmy's downfall is going to mirror the fate of Chuck and many of the elderly folks that Jimmy once represented. Jimmy is going to acquire a disability somehow and live out the rest of his days alone, with no family members or Kim to take care of him. No scamming, a completely passive and uneventful life. Unlike Chuck, Jimmy will have nobody to care for him as he has alienated everyone he knows. I'm not sure how we'll get to that point though. It's not going to go down the way you think it is. Pretty sure the majority opinion is that Jean will end up in jail. I think the best ending would be if Jean somehow gets away with everything again, just like the cockroach she is. So, as I'm going through these last few there's more, but a lot of them are starting to get repetitive around Jimmy, Saul, Gene going to jail, and just what that looks like. So I think I'm going to end the video here. It'll be interesting to see if any of these end up being true. So I guess we will find out soon. So with that, I hope you have enjoyed. As always, thank you so much for watching.